And in its most basic form, redistricting is just about drawing lines on a map to represent who is going to vote for certain elected officials.
In redistricting, it comes down to, as a part of fair opportunity maps, there's a notion of cracking or packing. Cracking is just like you crack an egg, you split a group of communities of interest into pieces, right? And so instead of having a group consolidated in a certain area where they might have a better chance of representation, you take that group and you split them off so that they only comprise, maybe 10% here and 15% there. And so then they never have a real, fair opportunity to have a person elected that represents their community. When you don't have, I tend to stress opportunity districts because you want it to be where multiple communities are evenly balanced and they have an even chance of having representation. And then it's not about whatever community of interest, it's about who has the best ideas and who's going to do the work.
The context for all of this is that the Latino community is increasing in its registration and voting. We are also increasing in our numbers. This is the change in Texas overall. You can see that in the last census, not this most recent one, but in the last census, statewide, Anglos grew by less than 500,000. Latinos grew by almost 2.8 million. But our growth and our increased political participation is strongest when the political lines that are drawn around our neighborhoods are fair. And so redistricting is a time when we need to be very involved and very vigilant about what's going on so that we can ensure that our growth and our registration and our coming out to vote are fairly reflected in political lines.
So I just want to emphasize that voting, it really matters. Like our voices and opinions really matter. And if you're not involved in, like voter engagement, or like we only do the maps every 10 years. Many of you already know, but if you're not involved, or if you know your community, get involved and try to figure out how to carve out a map, from your area, your neighborhood, because, it's important that, we could bring equity to our elections.
So in my work, I did phone banks and text banks and just general youth outreach in my personal life. And I found the most difficult barrier to overcome was apathy in the community. And the first time I truly saw this apathy face to face was with one of my childhood friends. We had gone to the same schools, grown up in the same block of apartments, and gone to the same schools. But I found that whenever he saw activist movements, he saw just futile attempts to fix a system that will never be truly fixed by individual actions, while I saw an opportunity to grow. And oftentimes when you speak to these kind of people who kind of don't see any hope in these activist movements, he saw no point in filling out the census. He saw no point in registering to vote because there's this whole mentality of my vote doesn't matter, my count won't matter, my family won't matter in the grand scheme of things.
What we've all been asking for in Texas is we don't want these maps to be done behind doors. We want an opportunity for these maps to be publicly displayed, for inclusion of communities to have a real opportunity, to give input. So it's not like, oh, we're going to go through the motions, we're going to put the map up and you have one day to look at it. And then we're going to make our decision at 2:00 in the morning when everybody's asleep, right?